What's the fastest you've ever gone from caring about someone to straight up loathing them? One summer back in high school years, I had a crush on this girl and we'd hang out when we weren't working together. A friend of mine would keep insisting that I should just ask her out. So I mustered my courage and asked her out. Yeah, it was a glorious fail. I still remember when she smiled and told me the truth. That was when I found out that they had been secretly dating for a year and thought it would be a lark to just fuck with me. 100 to 0 in a few words and a vicious smile. Friend at a bar tells some people we just met how her mother died. Later in the night I express my sympathy now she's without parents. She told me hush hush a few years prior about how father had passed. Wait, did I tell you back then my dad died? I thought I told you it was my mom. No, both my parents are still alive. When we were in uni I just read in a book telling people a parent has died isn't good way to get sympathy, haha. Fucking sociopath. Found out this girl I was getting close to had been lying about her ex being a deadbeat dad and well, her ex. He wasn't just still in the picture, they lived together. I should have guessed after the third or fourth time she made an excuse to not go to her place. Never ended something so quick. A former friend bailed on me when we were supposed to hang out and so I called my then girlfriend to see what she was doing and I could hear him talking to her parents in the background. When he became angry with me about something trivial, agreed to disagree instead of conceding to him, and then he proceeded to tell me he should beat the shit out of me because of it. Yeah, no. Done. Talking to my then GF about her cheating on me. Explaining I couldn't ever possibly trust her again, and she replied, but do you really need to trust me? Clearly had different ideas on what's required for a healthy relationship. 1 year friendship with this girl. I invited her over to my new apartment. She came over and wanted to gossip about her co-workers. When she paused, I tried to add into the conversation, make a joke, give reassurance, add a comment, etc., but she would immediately raise her voice and start talking over me. I kept getting angrier every time it happened until I was actually loathing her internally. She was so self-absorbed that she didn't notice I went from smiling and engaged to frowning while staring off into space. After 2+ hours of not being allowed to talk, I made up an excuse to kick her out of the apartment and then vowed to never see her again. When he convinced their wife to kick her young kids out because they were finally having a child together, he was very open about hating his stepkids. As fast as it took for his wife to call me at work to tell me that he was not only married, but had 3 children including a newborn, was at my wife's family Christmas gift exchange. My wife is estranged from her direct family, so this was all of the uncles, aunties, and cousins. There were multiple nieces and nephews running around having a good time. We all agreed to a white elephant exchange for the adults so we didn't have to buy a lot of gifts. We did that the night before and did the gifts for the kids in their morning. Morning rolls around and all the kids are opening gifts, except my son. None of those entitled asshats got him anything. He sat there and watched everyone else open multiple gifts and it broke my heart to see him sitting there with nothing. Fuck those people right up their stupid assholes. When I was younger I found out one of my childhood friends was stealing from me and the friendship group. Every so often we would lose a phone or iPod, then said friend would have conveniently got the same model but beat it up a bit with his initials in Typex or something stupid. Being a good friend we didn't want to believe it, but we started putting distinct markings on our items. Lo and behold, my phone goes missing and he turns up with the same one a few weeks later with the markings. We brought him up on it but he just lost his temper and stormed off. 15 years later he's in prison for armed robbery. My childhood friend, he lived pretty close to me and seemed like a nice dude until he stole my golden eye and moved to Minnesota. Fuck you, Derek. My ex-girlfriend. We were childhood sweethearts. Dated from 17 to 25. Found out she was cheating on me with her boss, who was more than twice our age. Then proceeded to find out there was many more occurrences and she was a very different person than the person I'd been dating. Shattered. The first girl I ever dated died unexpectedly on my then current GF and my's 3-year anniversary. My then GF stated she was pissed because my ex had died on purpose that day because it was our anniversary. I was utterly disgusted and it completely changed how I viewed her altogether. Things fell apart shortly after and we broke up. Co-worker had a dog who she let run free on her property. Said dog liked to chase cars. So it was only a matter of time, and the dog was hit. Dog couldn't walk for 2 days, was dragging herself around for days after that. We told her to bring her to the vet, and she refused, because it was too expensive. We pulled together the money and told her, bring your damn dog to the vet. And she did. The dog's bones in her legs and pelvis were shattered and the dog had no chance of recovering. Co-worker finally let the poor thing die peacefully. So anyhow, it was $50 to put this dog to sleep. And since then, every time my co-worker spends money on something frivolous and shows us, novelty socks, collectibles, an expensive cake, another fucking pet, I think about how she decided bringing comfort to a dying animal wasn't worth paying for. I loved, still love, playing Pokemon and I had no female friends with the same interest. Found out about this group of guys that played it after school. Got really excited and made plans with them. I waited for hours and they never showed up. Next day I overhear my best childhood friend laughing about how annoying I was and that they had to hide from me to play in peace. That really hurt. My best friend back in school got a F from the teacher. Me and him asked if we can go to the toilet. I go to the toilet to text a bit with friends from other school, he goes to the parking lot and scratches the teacher's car. School break and the teacher finds his car, we both get called to the director etc. etc. Friend said that we both scratched the car. I showed the teacher my phone to show him I was texting and couldn't have scratches his car, told friend to fuck off and went out. When he started being condescending to me in almost every conversation we have, in about almost every topic we talked about, then him complaining to me that some people can't handle him having such strong opinions on topics he's passionate about. When he straight up denied my existence in front of his friends. My father abandoned me and my ill mother. He just ran away. I am a single child so I had to take care of her on my own. It was hard. I loathed him, hated him. I no longer hate him, just forget about him. Hating someone for too long takes a heavy toll. I am grateful to have had the chance to take care of my mother and help her get well. Partner of 3 years broke up with me via text while I was at work. I lost my job by leaving work immediately to go home, a complete wreck, to discover he had given his friends a month's notice so they all helped him move, and I was literally the last one to know. When he left suddenly like this, he had in his account the money I had raised for charity by shaving my head because of my father's terminal illness. Went from upset to level 1000 rage as soon as I realized this. I have a 2-for-1 deal here. Walking in on my now ex-boyfriend having sex with my ex-best friend in my own room on my birthday party. Edit. Since that's a lot of comments to reply to individually, I'm very sorry, here are some FAQs answered. It was my 19th birthday. I did throw the bed out afterwards just because it reminded me of it daily. When I walked in, I was shocked, told him that it's over, kicked both of them out into 2 degrees Celsius weather while they were still half naked, and then did tequila shots with my other, non-asshole friends. I don't know what happened to them but I really don't care. It took some time to trust people again but I'm much better now. In the blink of an eye. I thought I was in love and then witnessed the asshole kick a dog. Hard. See ya. My mother fought cancer for 5 years. My father let my sister and I do 95% of the work/caregiving and after her death expected us to step into her place and take care of him. The man I used to love and respect is gone and I can't stand to be around him anymore. When my grandfather screamed at my mother that she had ruined his life by being born. Never spoke to him again after that. At an event I walked up on two of my friends talking complete shit about me. Cut them both out of my life at that moment, and have not looked back. When my best friend of 10 years slept with my boyfriend of 2 years. I was so crushed, but to be honest was more angry with the friend. I truly did believe that I was deeply in love with the boyfriend, but he was kind of a shithead to begin with. I saw my friend as a sister, and her betrayal left longer lasting impact and hurt way more. I hated her in a violent way for a very long time. Fast forward 11 years and now I am to a point where I have forgiven her and wish her well, but would never let her back into my life again. Had a male bestie for more than 10 years. One night I was upset and crying cause I witnessed my friends die at the beach a few weeks earlier. He stays over to comfort me and suggests he sleep over so I wouldn't be alone. He promised he wouldn't do anything. I believed him. So he held me while I cried myself to sleep. I wake up to him fing me. Without my consent, obviously. I lost my mind. And told him off and kicked him out my house. He came back a few days later to apologize, but I was so disgusted with him I told him to fuck off and never talk to me again. I blocked him. I felt so disgusted and betrayed. When the guy I'd been really into got a little tipsy and confessed to me he'd had an affair with a married woman. Okay, he was young, and it's not that uncommon when we're immature, overly emotional, and idealistic and selfish. It had been off and on for 20 years. And possibly produced 2 children. Who they just let her husband raise no matter whose they were, because guy I'd been seeing just wouldn't be a good father. I have never, before or since, experienced such a moment of instant shock, disgust, and loathing. I was just like, hey, thanks for telling me you're trash early on. Saved me a lot of time. Left him at the restaurant and took a lift home. He called me for 2 days wanting to explain. There would be a possible explanation for a short fling when young and dumb. There is nothing that explains that. I had this teammate who was such a good athlete, but he was not starting or even playing in any of our games. Naturally I was sad and curious as to why coach would hold out on playing this guy. As he was running routes and I was throwing him the football, he accidentally bumped one of our assistant helpers, as coach would like to call them. Instead of apologizing, he shouted, "Watch where you're walking and start. Damn, you blind as fuck." Right then and there I stopped the drill and walked out. I was at a party which was very drug hit. About halfway through the night someone dashed into the house and told us that one of the lads at the party had attempted to jump from the roof of one house to another and had fucked it up, and was lying in a heap on the floor. I've never sobered up so fast in my life. It was like being hit with adrenaline. We ran outside and, sure enough, the lad was in a mess, completely out of it. One of the lads who had brought a lot of the drugs to the party got out of there so quick, and was able to pocket a couple of mobile phones and some cash on his way out. Fucking scumbag. Edit for clarity. The lad who stole the phones and ran off was part of our friendship group too. It was a big party but we all knew each other. There's an older woman at work who seemed pretty okay. Then I overheard her talking about her toddler granddaughter, saying that she's a little hooker and shakes her booty at any man, and that sexualizing of a kid creeped me right out. Edit, spelling. 2 minutes, he pranked me by making me think he was gonna kill himself, then he got a friend to text me that he did and that I was my fault for not responding sooner. When I was having a full-on panic attack and almost killing myself out of guilt, he told me it was a prank, and the 2 friends asked me if I wanted to have a threesome. I have depression, suicidal thoughts, and yes, he knew that. In April I went on my yearly 3-day trip with my mom to Las Vegas. In that time, my ex moved out of my apartment. I found out because the landlord called, concerned I was moving. I knew nothing about it. I then called my ex, to ask what on earth was going on, and she didn't pick up. She left furniture that I'm still trying to get her to take, and took shit of mine that she won't give back. Now I'm stuck in an apartment I can barely afford, struggling to survive. I can't move because my rent is cheaper than anything else in my city. It's been tough. Really made me lose all respect for her. My mother was an alcoholic growing up. I used to take her side in all the fights she had with my dad. When I was at an older age I realized she was using my dad. She had no job and my dad, who was 64, was working his ass off to pay for my sister, me and my parents. Then my dad said we didn't have enough money for something and basically my mom said so. We're poor. My parents later split up and she found another boyfriend almost instantly. She still didn't have a job. So I figured out that she used my dad, then was using her boyfriend. Yeah, it was messed up. I kinda like you. Your autism is probably caused by vaccines. Okay, I kinda liked you 10 seconds ago. I was doing online dating which really sucked. But, I met a guy that I really liked. I was cautious and tried to be careful and take it slow. We dated for a few months. No sex. Lots of making out, but as yet no sex. I finally felt safe enough to start thinking about sex with him. He was very good to me and I felt like we could be a good fit. So, one day he asks me to take the afternoon off and meet him for lunch. Fun. I say. So we have a lovely lunch and he asks if I'd like to get a hotel room. I was caught quite off guard by this, but eventually agreed to it. We hope to the room and things progress nicely. He's very sweet, gentle, and loving. I felt very happy. We start having sex and he's on top. He starts talking to me saying how this is going to be the best revenge on his girlfriend. WTF. I froze up. I literally froze. I couldn't move or respond or anything. I know I should have just thrown his ass to the floor, but I was just numb. He finished his business, used a condom, thank God. We got dressed and left. Never spoke to him again. When my friend lied and went behind my back to date the guy I was interested in, and then started sleeping around behind his back. I wasn't interested in dating him, I just had a crush, and if she'd told me, I'd be fine with it. But lying to the both of us, straight to our faces, and asking the both of us to not tell the other one was fucked up. She told me about all her Tinder hookups and asked me to keep it a secret because she didn't want anyone else to know. I mean, I had my suspicions of what was going on, but once it was confirmed that she'd even lied to me about what had happened, it was straight over for me. You don't lie to me and expect me to stick around. Gave my roommate an envelope with a money order for bills in it, to drop in the mail. He got arrested. While looking for some of his documents to take to him, I found the opened, empty envelope in his closet. Peace out. My husband adopted my son when he was 3 after being in his life since he was 1. Gave him his last name, the whole 9 yards. When we had a child of our own, who was a girl, and decided we were done having kids, his mother said to me it's a shame we aren't having more kids, as she would have liked someone to carry on the family name. I have only tolerated her at holidays ever since. My best friend, who I considered a brother, was working for me. I called him to talk about the next job, construction, and he informed me that he had started his own company and taken my other full-time employee with him, who was working with me that day. Yeah, needless to say that one stung for a bit. We're cordial now, but it will never be the same after that. It's been 3 years. Het. I get the feeling there could be many stories about me. I had a terrible personality until my early 20s. Sorry everyone. My ex was severely depressed and drinking at my place one night. I own a lot of knives and guns because Murica. I wanted to make my bedroom as safe as possible, so I was taking everything pointy, shooty, or ligature-like and giving it to my roommate to keep safe, as I would stay with my ex in my room. Bathroom was attached. I handed off stuff to my roommate and heard a commotion in my room, found my ex on the edge of my bed with the gun I kept at bedside. It had been the last thing I needed to get past him and didn't think he knew about. He went from pointing it at himself to pointing it at me. I talked him down from that and told him I wouldn't call the cops if he stayed in the room until sober and called a therapist in the morning. He physically fought me to try to get out but was drunk and tired and eventually laid in bed and cried himself to sleep. I slept by the door until morning. I woke up covered in bruises to a nightmare about him shooting me. I recognized he was sick but also he was capable and willing to kill me. I never saw him the same way again, we no longer speak. There had been a lot of red flags before this point but I was far too blind and far too lonely to recognize them. Well, when I found out my crush is actually racist against Romanians, Chinese, and so on. And that she is very different from what I expected her to be. Edit, sorry, just a grammar fix. I worked for a small company. For the first few years my boss and I got along really well to the point that we would eat dinner together regularly. I hung out with his son quite a bit, we even vacationed together twice. We went really well together. I was good at what he wasn't and he was good at what I wasn't. Over those years we were able to really grow the company to the point that we needed to grow. We had two ladies in the office that were family to the boss. One was an 80-year-old woman and the other was her granddaughter who was grossly incompetent. The only reason the granddaughter was there was because she had never been able to hold a job anywhere else. One night while I'm eating dinner with my boss he comes in and has this whole pitch about how he wants to bring my wife on board and let her run our marketing and kind of fill in the gaps on what the secretary was supposed to be doing but wasn't because of laziness. Offered to pay her more money than what she was making, said she could work from home most of the time. Sounded great. First day she works the secretary has a huge problem with her being there because she had a complex about someone coming in and doing more than her. Her and the grandma both are rude. The secretary posts very thinly veiled comments on Facebook directed at my wife. She even lied and said my wife tried opening charge accounts up to make personal purchases. While all this was happening my boss never said a word to intervene, he simply let it happen. My wife worked there less than 2 months before she couldn't take it anymore and had to leave, rightfully so. And my boss let it all happen even though it was his idea to bring her on board. I went from having a deep respect for that man and considered him a father figure to not even being able to stand to watch him chew his food. Was dating a girl for a few months and things were going great until somehow Jews came up in conversation. She went full Jews control the world and wouldn't accept that non-Jews take any responsibility for anything that ever went wrong in the me. I just saw her in a whole new light. 1990s China. I, white teen, get invited to a girl's birthday party out in the burbs. I get to the party and find out there is another white dude there. Wow. In those days that is like 1 in a million chance. We play the name game and find out not only are we from the same country and area, but in fact went to the same tiny elementary school together. After about 10 minutes of wow, we have so much in common, he drops that he is mostly there to bang the girls and mostly tries to bang the married ones because they are less likely to want to stick around. Fucker. Back then, getting caught having an affair with a foreigner was instant family/social death and a likely mandatory 7-year sentence for prostitution. When my ex told me that she was cheating on me, that type of betrayal hits you hard, especially in this case because she was one of my closest friends before we started dating. Edit, just to clarify a bit, a guy I befriended when visiting her at college sent me a Facebook message after hanging out because he felt bad since apparently she didn't even try to hide it there and he thought I deserved better. When I asked her about it was when she finally told me. She didn't just decide to tell me out of the goodness of her heart, she was just caught and was tired of lying. When I, girl, was going to US to meet my friend, God. I was from Europe, I knew him only through Facebook and we played games together, I liked him, he was just good in every way. One day I decided to visit him so he promised me to get me to Disney, Universal Studios, other places, and that he will be paying for most thing because I will get the airplane ticket. When I get there, he started making excuses, how his family takes too long to pack and how he can't pick me up on the airport and blah blah. He then said, that he is on the way and it will take a few minutes to get there. Well, he never came. So my thoughts were kinda mixed, did he ghosted me? Did something happen to him? Etc. So I started crying and was desperate, that I was on the airport in US with no access to internet, so I went to buy a SIM card from airport SIM machine. It scammed me for $60, never got them. The next day he told me, that he was scared, that I will be mad, because he was late, so he didn't come at all. What is this kind of thinking? Anyways, he got to the airport finally and he locked a key in the car, so a locksmith had to come. Then he told me, that he had no money, $2 in pocket and $0.2 on card, so I got to pay $75 for a locksmith and then $10 for gas. We were originally going to his house so I don't have to pay for the hotel, but he made another excuse, that his house is packed with people and it would be better to go to the hotel. So we went there and, again, I had to pay for the room for two. Then he left in the middle of the night, because he had to take sister somewhere by car, WTF at 2 AM LOL. I woke up to empty room and a message Srey, got to take sister somewhere and forgot a key from the room so I will stay at my place, so I was so pissed by that time, I decided to go to a mall where I found the nicest guy, thank God, that took me to a lunch and we started talking. I told him about my situation. We got to the hotel where I got text from Mr. Douche saying, that his car's insurance expired and basically that I am on my own. The kind guy took my stuff and got me a room in a different hotel, better neighborhood, and then whole week took me to see everything in the city. The other guy ghosted me, blocked me everywhere and I never heard from him since. But now I can proudly say, I survived in US, alone. TLDR, I traveled across whole world to meet my friend who ghosted me in a foreign country. He is a dick. I had a friend a while back. Neat guy. Liked video games, anime. One of the few people willing to go in on a pen and paper RPG. Didn't interact with him outside of these sorts of events. And hashtag X200B. One time, a bunch of us went to grab dinner before seeing a limited run anime movie. This guy special orders absolutely everything. Want pick something on the menu. Standard grill fare, doesn't just ask for special order, demands it. Calls the waitress names and is just a total dick. When I confronted him about it, he started shouting and making a huge scene in the restaurant. The rest of the night was massively awkward. After that, I just ghosted him. And hashtag X200B. People who treat others poorly like that have no place in my life. You can tell the character of a person based on how they treat someone they don't have to be kind or nice to. You're not like other black people, you're smart. And that's how I lost all sexual interest in a 10/10 Russian chick. I loved my aunt with all my heart and I had a genuine connection with my uncle. That all changed when he murdered her so that she wouldn't report him to the police. He killed himself 3 days later because he knew they would find out it was him. I just wish I could have been the one to kill him.